Hi, it's Charlie McCann from VictorChandler.com. Welcome to a preview of Saturday's big betting race of the weekend. That's the Totesport Trophy Hurdle, one of the most prestigious handicaps in the racing calendar. And 24 have stood the ground. There was over 50 entered previously, but at today's 5-day stage, 24 stand their ground. All the principals generally, I think, Call the Police of Willie Mullins, that was around about a 14-1. With ourselves at VictorChandler.com, that's probably the main absentee. But let's quickly go through the betting, the revised betting, of course. Remember, still quarter the odds, 1, 2, 3, 4 places with ourselves at Victor Chandler. Solix is the 13-2 favourite, very well supported in recent weeks, but there are a couple of concerns there. First of all, he's going to carry top weight of 11 stone 12. All his form is in France. This is his British debut. I think he's been beaten 4 of the 5 times he's run against La Belleville, one of the big French stars of the hurdling scene. But he's running off a mark of 152. Let's put that into perspective. When Minora, who's won a second, third favourite for the champion hurdle, when he won the Greatwood, he won that off 151. Mil Chief, who's run about a 20-1 shot for the champion hurdle now, he won at Sandown very, very impressively. He won that handicap of 145. So you'd have to say if Solix is going to win Saturday's big race, he's going to have to be champion hurdle material, and that is one of the concerns. First time out, it's hard to gauge, I think, that French form, but more importantly perhaps is the form of the yard, is the Nicky Henderson yard. Remember, Henderson's got a great record in the race going back to around about the turn of the century, 1998. I think Sharpicle won then, and Gios won on 2 occasions, and Landing Light I think won in 2001. So 1998, I think 2000, 2002, 2001, he monopolised this race, hasn't won it since. But he's got 2 very strong horses in the race. But what about the form of the yard? There's no question that some of them, including the champion hurdler himself, Binocular, despite the fact that he won, he had to win that race. But some of the horses did run below par. There are unconfirmed rumours that there is a bit of illness in the camp. Let's get things into perspective. When you think Sprinter Sacra was very, very impressive. Oscar Whiskey, both at Foslas on Saturday. That's not get carried away. But there's no question that a couple in the yard are running below par. And with that in mind, 13-2 and the imponderables about the French form, it wouldn't be for me, but Solix is our favourite at VictorChandler.com at 13-2. Salden Lake up £10, 7-1. Alan King also got a strong party for the race. But Salden Lake up £10, 5th in the November handicap previously. Soft ground is, I think, essential for his chances. I didn't think it was the greatest race. I know Hunterview, who finished 3rd at Exeter, he's come out and franked the form winner Musselbury yesterday, Sunday, but he's been put up £10 for that, Salden Licht, and again he will carry joint top weight at 11 stone 12. But he's second in a betting at 7-1. Final approach, and the one of two Willie Mullins, I said Call the Police, who finished second in the NSR hurdle, 2 final approach. Call the Police doesn't run, but final approach does run, and really looked as if he could be very, very progressive. I think the 2 Willie Mullins horses are big runners in the race, and we've got 5-1 with ourselves at VictorChandler.com for either of them. And there's only 2 Irish runners in the race. The Irish haven't won the race since, I think, Spirit River back in 2003 for Jessica Harrington. But I think Willie Mullins has got 2 real plays, including final approach, progressive. He got a wonderful ride, if you remember, if you have a look at the MCR hurdle again, from Paul Townend on the inside all the way around. But he's got, I think, a reasonable weight, around about 10 stone 11 for final approach, progressive, going the right way and gets weight from many of the principals. 8-1, and 8-1 also for Walk On. Remember this wonderful looking grey. Finished second to Zanar, of course owned in partnership by our own Victor Chandler. That was in the 2009 Triumph Hurdle, finished second, then went on to Aintree and won the Grade 1 there. Off the track since until he came back, and that was bet with your mobile Victor Chandler at VictorChandler.com. Handicap hurdle at Ascot. Last month, of course, in January, and really ran through the race as if he's retained all his ability, but it's the bounce factor. Let's get it right. This bounce factor, of course, for those unfamiliar with the term, is when a horse comes back from a long layoff, such as Walk On, and runs really, really well on his first appearance, and an awful lot of horses don't, or appear not to give their running on the second time. It's an Americanism, but I think it's something that punters need to be aware of. The bounce, in inverted commas, factor. Will Walk On bounce on Saturday? I know I was fortunate enough to have a word with Ian Turner, who represents the owners, and they're very, very keen on this horse. And many in the Alan King yard suggest this, and maybe not Mil Chief, should by Cheltenham time be their champion hurdle aspirant, the main contender from the yard. He's an 8-to-1 shot, then 8-to-1 for Get Me Out of Here. Get Me Out of Here, of course, as a novice, won the race last year. That was up a mark of 135. He's £15 higher. Hasn't really been himself since finishing second to Minora, the aforementioned Minora, in the Supreme Novices last year. And of course, this is the horse that, you know, there's some debate about McCoy's ride on the first time. He just doesn't seem yet to be the horse. And again, Get Me Out of Here, £15 higher than last year, opposed again. Notice to La Tour from the Martin Pipe stable is very interesting. This one was backed out the question for the R-sponsored race at Ascot. That was over 3.5, back to 2 miles. He was very, very well backed, well supported before the Great Wood Hurdle, but did miss that intended early season target through injury. As a result, you can then forgive him, I think, for that Ascot, below par Ascot run. And I think Notice to La Tour is a real player. Although one word of caution again, that Tom Scudder won in last year's Fred Winton did favour Hunter View over Notice to La Tour. Notice to La Tour, when he finished second behind Sanctuary of Paul Nicholls, was ridden by Johnny Farrelly. Notice to La Tour is a 10-to-1 shot, as is Soldatino. Now Soldatino pulled far too hard on the way to post and also through the race when not getting home, but he looked a real player at this trip over 2 miles. And this great, again, is the second Henderson run. We've been through the possible concerns about the well-being of the Henderson yard, very free to post. But of course, in last year's Triumph, when he only just got up to beat Barazan, Barazan of course went off like a scalded cat on that occasion, just got Pip coming over. Maybe if Barazan had jumped the last better, he would have won for Evan Williams. But he gave the impression, did Soldatino, that he would be suited by a step up and trip, but he pulled far too hard out of Ascot on his reappearance, and he's a fascinating runner, I think, Soldatino. Isleth is a 12-to-1 shot at Recession Proofs, the last Northern trained horse. This is John Quinn's last Northern trained horse to win the Tote Gold Trophy, as it was then, was 1993 with Rodeo Prince. That was for Nigel Tinkler and for Graham McCourt. Ronaldo de Mott is a 16-to-1 shot with ourselves at victorchandler.com. Finished second in the race to Get Me Out of Here last year. But again, I have reservations about Ronaldo de Mott. And the one that Evan would, at this stage, put up with 5 days to go is the second one in the betting at 16-to-1 with Sweet My Lord. And that is the Willie Mullins train, the second, seemingly, of the Mullins trained runners. 10 stone 6. Lightly raced, open to plenty of improvement. His inexperience is a big concern, of course, in a big field against these wonderful these wonderful handicappers, and of course some of them are on the verge of champion hurdle class. But it's 7-to-1 a field, 13-to-2 the field rather. Solix for the Totes Trophy. That's with ourselves at victorchandler.com. Slight concern about the reservations of the Henderson team. For me, Sweet My Lord, 16-to-1, quarter the odds, first 4. Be lucky.